Hi, my name is TJ Scott. This is my chapter 4 and 5 video summary. I apologize because I must have gotten mixed up a little bit and done a little bit of chapter 4 in my last video summary. But just touching base on it once again because I do think chapter 5 had more, um, not necessarily more interesting things, but more things relevant to the business world. I feel like chapter 4 is something when you're dealing with these things you can contact different people in the legal profession to handle the different dispute resolution methods and decide which approach is best for you. Obviously, I think all of these things are important to know within the business world, understanding what you're doing, the practices of what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're going to do it, or how you may be doing it wrong. I think all these things are important. But just touching base on chapter 4 again, obviously it was the different methods, the different ways of settling a dispute within the business world, specifically obviously in the legal world. And there was a multitude of different ways that kind of surprised me. Once again, there were many different ways where you don't really have to take any necessary legal action to make sure that these disputes are settled. There was a lot of different ways that involve negotiation, which you don't really hear about things like that in the news or when companies are arguing. Typically, it's this way or that way. A lot of these methods showcase to me that there's negotiation processes that can help both ways, both sides of the argument, however it may be. And then there's also a lot of different things you can do for example, in a public forum for people that may have stock in a company. So maybe that company versus the people that are technically the shareholders and technically the owners of the company, but they may not be operating it. So going into chapter 5, which was constitutional principles, a lot of federal law, understanding the law, along with kind of the homework, going back on precedent cases, different clauses that have been touched on. The thing that interests me the most about chapter 5, and even with the homework this came up, is the fact that our legal system goes back to cases that are nearly 100 years old, and they still hold precedent to this day. Law is something to me that I feel needs to be constantly changing, and I feel like precedent cases are overruling a lot of decisions that need to be made for our society, and these big cases that may wind up through multiple Court of Appeals and then eventually the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to rule with these precedent cases in a lot of situations. Obviously, the Supreme Court doesn't hear many cases. It's a long process to get to that road or get down to that road for a huge change in the Constitution, change with amendments, changes with pretty much everything the government. And another big thing that Chapter 5 really touched base on was the fact that amendments have so much impact on businesses, how businesses operate, how businesses carry themselves, and almost consequences, whether they be positive or negative, with business decisions, and more importantly, employees within business decisions, how they're held, what they're supposed to be accountable for, and even what's going to happen to them if they act on different things. The First Amendment is a huge one, obviously, in the business world. The ability, free speech, free press, free religion, and these things are all over the place within the business world. Just because you have so many different people, so many different beliefs, you have to know how to handle these as a business owner, somebody that's going to operate in the business world. You have to know what your boundaries are, because the First Amendment is something that can be attested for on all levels. Pretty much any decision that's made, you can go back to the First Amendment and find a way that it may counteract it, a way that somebody could come to you and say that you're in violation of my First Amendment rights. Chapter 5 is a lot of precedented cases, as I said before, and a lot of precedent cases that I had to go back and look on the dates of the original cases, and I was kind of shocked to find that a lot of these cases are really old, and I think times have changed quite a bit, and I think the cases should change. But you found that a lot of new cases that were ruled on went back to these precedent cases. We were looking at homework, the 2001 case, which I had to do a lot more digging on to fully understand and grasp the concept of what was happening. And they ruled with a case that was decided in 1969 over the First Amendment. And don't get me wrong, the First Amendment hasn't changed. People are fighting for it in different ways. That's changing, but the First Amendment hasn't changed. But the things around the First Amendment, how we are now able to speak freely, different platforms, different people, a different time, a different era, I think those cases need to be ruled upon differently, and maybe these precedent cases don't need to be thrown out by any means in the court of law, but maybe times have changed.